Hi, everybody. My name is Shirlene. Thank you so much for joining us again in our part two of this mental health in the outreach department. Thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, we have our team back. For those of you who joined us the first time, you already kind of know the story. This is part two. We're following up with more resources. We're going to do a little snippet of what we discussed last time for those of you who missed it. The title of today is overcoming and dealing with trauma. All of us at some point in our lives have gone through some sort of trauma, whether we recognize it or whether we have put it somewhere and pretend like it never happened. We have some way, somehow, in some shape or form, experienced some sort of trauma. And today, especially in the world today, mental health is wealth, like my pastor liked to say. Um, it's great to be able to openly speak about the things that we go through, knowing that you're not the only person going through it, that other people may have gone through what you're going through, and speaking up and reaching out and asking for help. It's all okay. It's okay. It doesn't show weakness. And just to keep going, I'm Charlene. I am in the medical field. I am the community outreach director. We have our entire team here. I have my vice president, Sister Marie. Say hi. And we have also Sister Saundra. We heard her story last week. She's going to recap her story again this week. We have on the phone our social worker, Sister Clavedia, who's unable to physically be here with us. She's on the phone for any questions that may be needed. So to get started, we're gonna hear Sister Sandra's gonna give us a snippet of her story because not everybody had the chance to catch the first part, so we can hear her story. And then a close friend of mine who didn't want to come on the live wanted me to touch. She gave me permission to speak about her story of workplace bullying, which is one of her traumatic things that she has experienced and is still trying to cope with. So I'm going to touch base on that as well after we hear from Sister Saundra.
Hi, everybody. So, yeah, last month I was on, and I had the pleasure of sharing and opening up about, very personal things that happen. Um, Mental health is something that's real because oftentimes when I used to think about mental health, I used to think it was people who are just crazy. They're talking to themselves and not bathing and just doing really crazy things. But then later on in life, I came to realize that I was suffering from mental health, and things that needed to be addressed that were never addressed for a very, very long time. So basically, I'd like to first acknowledge how really blessed I am because not many people could have gone through some of the things that I went through and came out on the other side okay. Not to say that it wasn't a long journey because it really was. And there was a lot of things I had to overcome and a lot of things I had to admit to and just needing a lot of closure. So basically, I recapped that I didn't realize I had any kind of mental health issues until maybe in my 30s. And the reason why is because obviously it was affecting a lot of areas in my life, like my work, my relationships, especially relationships. So basically, my story was when I was younger. Um, I kept it from my family that I was sexually abused. Um, I was. uh, it's a crazy story because when I was in third grade, the first day of school, I was actually abducted. The very first day, and it was a pedophile, and I was just really scared to death. I mean, I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky because um, I did make it home alive because many children when something like that happens, they just go missing. So I could have been one of those statistics, even though it was terrible what happened. But I'm just thankful to God that I'm not a statistic where, like I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the grace of God. So basically, what happened was I was so terrified. um, there were a lot of issues at home as well that I'm not going to get into, but because of all of the issues that were going on in the home, um, when this thing happened, I basically like blocked it out. I didn't share it with anyone until about maybe a year after it had happened. And unfortunately, the person that I trusted, that I shared the information with, this person used what happened, and just my vulnerability and being afraid, because I trusted this person. It was my best friend's older brother. So I told my best friend and the older brother, and I figured because they knew my parents, and I I couldn't tell them. I figured that maybe they could help open the door of the conversation. And basically, what happened was that was used against me. So I was abused by the babysitter. My best friend's older brother, and after that happened, I guess, that really messed with my mind because um, I had very, very low self esteem because I felt that, there was basically something wrong with me and me relating to anybody because, for something like that to happen, like I thought I was the only one. I felt like I was alone. And I definitely felt like I couldn't trust anyone. So, what started to develop in me was a very bad sense of trust. I had obviously a lot of trust issues, and it manifested itself in my relationships where not only did I not trust people, but I developed very negative habits, negative self-esteem and also negative habits where I would be fighting every single day. Like I was just so sensitive. If you looked at me wrong, just a look, it was just over. I would just be fighting with everyone. I got suspended so many times. Um, my mom didn't know what to do with me because, people were saying that, I should see a psychiatrist. Maybe, she should send me to live with other family members. But it was like that for a very long time where I just accepted that's just who I am. Like I'm just someone where, I'm just someone that doesn't get along with anyone. No one really likes, I don't like anyone. I don't like people. I pretty much stayed to myself. Um, so that was, pretty much for a very long time until I got to the end of elementary school. I believe it was my eighth grade teacher. His name was Mr. Symbolic. I'll never forget him because up to about eighth grade, I was just the intolerable child. I was the intolerable girl, the girl that, no one would want their child to be around me because I would be cursing. I was just very hyperactive. I didn't listen to anyone. It was just really, really bad. So my eighth grade teacher, I wouldn't, what I would say was different about him was up to that point, the teachers that I had dealt with or that dealt with me, they really didn't know what to do with me, other than call my home, constantly. But after a while, the parents, they're like, okay, my child is just no good, because every teacher is saying the same thing about her. But Mr. Symbolic, what was different about him was even though I was manifesting my behaviors like the same way I would be cursing, I'd be fighting all the time. Um, he just dealt with it and he basically didn't tolerate it. He said, okay, you're back in the class, you're doing your work. Even I was very defiant, there was oppositional defiance there. Um, and that really didn't matter, It was the way that he spoke to me, like there was no judgment there, you know. So after that point on, when I went to high school, things continued to get better and my relationship started to get better. And then I figured that, I'm good, I'm fine because I'm not doing those things that I used to do anymore. I'm calmer. I don't fight everyone. So I thought everything was okay. So to fast forward, um, in my early to mid 30s, you know, around this time, where like I noticed that I always had problems with every single relationship. Like I couldn't really keep a relationship. And finally, what made me realize that I was not okay was when I miscarried. I had miscarried. I had twins, and then I had miscarried, and it was like I reverted completely back to when I was younger. Like it was really really bad, where my mom even called my sister and said that she needed to come because there was like something wrong with me, you know. Um, so it just like really awoken a lot of those emotions that were really dormant that I never dealt with or anything. So when that happened, that's when I realized that I needed like help. you know um at that point, around that time, I was doing a lot of what do you call it, pain medication. I was doing a lot of pain medication, just to numb the feeling, numb the pain, because I felt like this time it wasn't really a person that I could be upset at. This was like even my body that had turned against me. So there was a lot of negative things going on. So eventually, like I said, my story is not normal because um, I didn't get psychological help or medication like other, like which is the normal route that most people go through. But what happened was I was healed spiritually. Like, I don't want to get into that right now, but it was really divine intervention what happened. Um, but today, what I could say is that if you feel like you need help, you need to reach out to someone. You need to speak to someone because trauma undealt with does not go away. It just remains dormant until the right time when it comes out. And when it comes out, like I thank God again because I wasn't successful because I even had attempted suicide. And fortunately for me, I that didn't work, But like I said, undealt trauma, things from your childhood, if they're not dealt with, like they can really manifest at the most unexpected time. So many people I hear, and I, people always say, "Wow, that person was so happy they had everything," but you don't know what's underlying, you know. So that's why it's very, very important to trust someone or find someone to speak to about it because it does come back.
Thank you, Sis Saundra. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I before we move on, I really just want to say that, and if anybody has any questions, concerns, any even advice, you can go ahead and write it in the comments. Um, just to touch base on another story, because there's trauma comes in so many different forms. We just heard Sister Sandra's story, and some people, you could think it's family, it could be something physical, but other times it's more mental. um I have a coworker who, she didn't want to come on, but she gave me permission to speak on her story of workplace bullying. And when I first met her, this girl, I'm telling you, she was on fire. There's nothing that she couldn't do. And she, right now, she's at the point where she doubts every single thing she does when it comes to work. For those of you who don't know me, I am a nurse. So it's a fellow nurse. And she, obviously, we work closely with doctors, and some of them, a lot of them are not nice, can be really rude and cruel. And of course, one of them that she had to work closely with kind of broke her down. He questioned every single decision she made, and even when she's following like his instructions, he questioned. If something goes wrong, it's automatically her fault. And now it's like she doesn't even want to be a nurse anymore because she's so afraid that she's going to make a mistake. And this is somebody who used to walk into the room and exude confidence in her abilities because she knows her stuff. She knows her stuff. Somebody comes in with something, you can just go and talk to her. She can tell you, like, I think this is what it is. And she knows her stuff. She's had experience. She's been in the field for a really long time, and she's confident in which in her abilities, in her schooling, in her studies, and she's great. She's amazing. And as in my opinion, and I've learned so much from her from working from next to her with her, and for me to see her go through this and not being able to kind of course she spoke up about it, I should say. She spoke up about the bullying. She reached out to the proper channels, and it's in the works, in the process of being dealt with. But the internal damage, the mental damage, the psychological damage doesn't matter what happens at work after that. That damage is there, and she has to personally deal with that. And I've been attempting to get her. She's been seeking help. She's seeing a psychiatrist, but she had to take a leave of absence from work because every time she thought about coming to work, she would break down into tears, and that's not that anybody knows that's not healthy. I Nobody jumps up in the morning and say, "Yay, I'm going to work." But nobody breaks down into tears either when they have to go to work. At least I don't, I should say. But if you get to that point thinking of it, or she's driving by the job, she breaks down into tears. It's so sad. And it's just it's so much that she's dealing with that she wanted me to share her story because she wants to for other people who may be going through the same thing to know that there is help. She has a great support system though. Um, she has a great support system at home, her friends, her co-workers. A lot of us stood up with her when she filed the complaint. A lot of us went into the office with her when she had to file the complaint. So and of course, money's like one our social worker says, money is important, but mental health is needed. So she is obviously will end up leaving the job, but she's actually thinking of switching careers in as a whole. And yeah, so I mean there's a lot of people. I'm just writing what our social worker, because
She
she's in the
says,
background. She just wanted to let us know because she said, if you don't believe it, Robin Williams, Kate Spade, these are all the people who people are like, wow, I can't believe these people committed suicide
yeah.
because they were so rich. Who would have thought so? Clavia, would you like to say something on that aspect? We have her on the phone, but I don't know if she's really connected well. I apologize. But yes. And I'm gonna have Marie come on, and she has some resources that she's able to provide to you guys. There is some of our websites which we will post in the comment section for everyone who needs it, but she'll touch base on them real quick.
A lot of feedback. No, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. Sorry for. Um, but so yeah, like showing you
You're very low, Marie.
am I? Can you hear me better now? Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Let me come closer to the mic.
Much better.
Okay. Perfect. Um. Talking back to the resources that are available to either party. Sometimes maybe you don't think you need it, and maybe you just want to touch base and see what websites have on, or if you have a friend or family member that can need it. So for mental health treatment resources, um, uh, we have mhawestchester.org /staff resources. Another website is www.wjcs.com. Another resource is connection.westchesterlibrary.org. Um, and then there's a lot of dashes. We'll put it on the live so you can see. So for domestic violence resources, we have the National Domestic Violence Hotline. The number is 800-799-7233. We also have My Sister's Place, which is 800-298-7233. Which is the website is mspny.org. And last, we have Safe Horizon, and their website is safehorizon.org. So those are some of the resources that our social worker provided. Anybody who needs help, um, please just even maybe you don't know that you need help, just take a look at the websites. There's a lot of resources and information that can be very helpful to anybody.
I have a question. Can I ask a
Yes,
question?
go ahead. Yes,
Oh,
go ahead.
so Sister Marie, the resources that you just mentioned, are they anonymous? Like, are like, is it live chat? Is it anonymous? And also, in getting those treatments, like, do they accept like all kinds of like insurance?
What I know from my social worker, yes, they are anonymous, and yes, they can be anonymous if you need them to be, because when it comes to a certain situation, you may want or you may need them to be anonymous. As far as insurance purposes, if, I may be mistaken, but as far as I know, on the websites they do have information about what kind of insurance they provide, or they have information on pricing and etc., and how they can help you pay for some of the resources. And a lot of them are there are also resources that are free of charge too. I'm sure our social worker can look into that and give you some more information. So there's a lot of resources for both, for basically everyone, depending on your situation.
Okay.
That's what I can say about that. There's a lot, and also what I can say about resources as far as your insurance, whatever insurance that you may have on their websites, they do have information to some of the resources that they do provide for you. Um, but speaking personally, my insurance sometimes they even send me information on new mental health resources that they have provided since the pandemic, because a lot of people have been dealing with a lot of different things. So I know for a fact that a lot of insurance have been proactive in trying to offer a lot of their people different resources to help deal with mental health.
Hi, hello. Could you guys hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, great. So I just want to touch base on the Sister Saundra's question. Yes, you can be anonymous on some of these resources that is provided. However, if you're doing mental health treatment, you're not going to be anonymous because they need your information to provide the treatment that is needed. Um, if you are trying to, depending on the situation, it's case by case. So I'm not going to say it's for everyone, but some things can't be kept a secret. Like if it's, safety reasons, we can't keep that secret. We have to know your identity. We try to make sure we get your identity to provide the proper services so you get the proper treatment that is needed. That's the question I wanted to answer. But I wanted to go back to Sister Saundra about her phenomenal outcome and her resilience coming through her traumatic experience. But she has succeeded and she overcame so many. But she also touched something that I want to touch a little bit on about defense mechanism. A lot of people who deal with trauma use defense mechanisms to not allow them to deal with the trauma. So some defense mechanism people will use is rationalization, repression, reaction reform, undoing, isolation of affection, or displacement, to name just a few. But one particularly is repression, where you bury to acknowledge or the truth of the fact that happened in the past. So we do that as humans. When you don't want to deal with trauma, your subconscious, your conscious bury the trauma so you don't face it. It's a protection. The defense mechanism is a protection for yourself because you don't want to deal with the emotion. Sometimes the emotion could do harm, more harm than good. You know, trying to face the trauma. But the good thing is now we are in a world of mental health where you could get the assistance that you need to face the trauma and with proper channels with professionals that are licensed are able to help you get through the trauma that is needed. So I do always advocate for mental health treatment because it is out there and it is free, it is reachable, and it's accessible, especially within our community. And Shelly, I just want to touch base with the bullying. Um, your coworker who is dealing with bullying. When you deal with bullying in the workplace, you are correct. Trauma happens. Now you're feel like you have low self esteem. You're incompetent, and you don't know, what you're doing. Like you questioning yourself. No one should feel like that in the workplace. Your work, you should be happy to go into work. So it's unfortunate that your friend is going through this, but my advice is if he is if he does go through the proper channels, get treatment, motivational interviewing is the best treatment to deal with bullying and we have low self-esteem. Motivational interviewing as well as CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, where you with your thoughts, we change people's thoughts and beliefs. So if you feel like she's incompetent, you show them how they're not incompetent. It's techniques into that. But the fact that she is getting treatment is she doing the right thing. She's in the right path. It's gonna take time. When you deal with mental health, things doesn't happen overnight. It happens in time. It takes time. Trauma happened 20 years ago. Don't expect everything to be resolved within 2 days of treatment. It's not going to work like that. It's going to take time. It's a process. It's a process within yourself, and it's a healing. And also, it's going to be spiritual, like Sister Saundra was speaking of. So I just want to bring that to attention.
Thank you so much, Clavia, because yeah, that's one thing she actually asked me to do with her a lot at work, and we pray a lot. Whenever she comes
Shirley,
into
you're on mute.
I, I,
situation,
I can hear you.
okay, thank you. So whenever she comes into situations where she feel less, or she wants to question herself or anything else that she's doing, she would pull me to the side and say, "Listen, can you come and pray with me? Because I'm really not feeling myself right now." And that's one thing that we do a lot. So I'm just really,
I
really
can hear
glad
you.
that we're able to do that together. And yeah, I mean, she in the beginning, she's one who really didn't care for prayer, but now it's one of her coping mechanism. So I'm really glad that she at least have that as a pathway of dealing with what she's going through at the moment. She would text me sometimes when she's home to ask me, can you pray with me or pray for me?" So that's one of the way, I guess that's where I fit into her life. And I'm so glad when she texts me. I would, if I'm not in the middle of procedure or surgery or whatever it is that we're doing at the moment, I would just stop everything I'm doing. I'll just give her a call because, 1 second or one split second, you don't know why all of a sudden she's texting you. That's another thing. If you one of those people that a friend of yours is reaching out to and is asking for help, um, sometimes you have to drop everything because at the moment that they're asking for help, it could be literally a matter of life and death. So if I happen to not like if I'm not in surgery or anything like that and she texts me, I literally drop everything and make sure I take a quick five or whatever I need to take to call her and be like, let's pray. Or let's talk and tell me what's going on. I mean, she also has her psychiatrist that she reach out to very often, but when it comes to me, I guess she feels like prayer is something different. So we do that often. So I'm glad that I can be that person for her. And to be honest with you, when I pray for her, it helps me as well. Because there's a lot of things that's happening at work in the medical field and just in general, like it helps me deal with as well. So um sister Clavia wanted to say the key systems key things to have is to build a support system, to find resources in the community, and all of those will help build your self-esteem, rebuild your self-esteem. There's a lot of, if you don't want to go in person, there's a lot of group resources where you can do virtually. Those are all available. You don't want to go into a church and you just want to live stream the service, go ahead and do that. And sometimes a song, a word, or something may touch you. It just may be the right thing that you needed to hear at that moment. Um, and Sister Marie would like to say something about workplace bullying, so I'm just gonna tune in back to her.
Uh, yeah. Right. I
You're
just
going in and out.
oh,
Yeah.
uh, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh, sorry, that was my mic. Speaking on the work, I just wanted to say something about my experience workplace trauma.
you still low.
I just wanted to touch base on my experience dealing with workplace bullying. Actually, it happened when I was pregnant. It really took me.
In and out.
I can't hear.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, is that
Yes.
better?
Stay there.
Okay, I'll try to say that. I just wanted to touch base on experience that I had dealing with workplace bullying. When I was pregnant, I went into a situation where I was working with somebody, and I guess that person, because I was pregnant, um, that person herself was dealing with a lot of things, so she took that out, and it became a whole thing where she was saying that I guess I wasn't doing my job correctly, and she was trying to basically undermine everything that I was trying to do. But like I said, it's good to have a support system and to try to find yourself a place where something like that happens. That you try your best to know yourself. Try your best to find people like our staff members, my manager. I was able to go to her and and basically lay out how I was feeling about the situation, and I had that dealt with because I was very vulnerable at that time. I was like I was going through a lot of emotion, and at that time when whatever was happening, whatever it was that she told me, I was fuming. I had a lot of emotions going on, and it could have went a lot of different ways for me. And but I'm just so happy that I had people, I had management, I had people that I could talk to about the situation and kind of deal with it. Because honestly, I was at a point where I didn't even want to come to work anymore. I wanted to quit the job because I didn't want to go into the environment and have to deal with this person who was trying to make me feel so bad just because I was going through a period of very happy period. But I felt like every time she saw me, she had this negative vibe about just whatever she was going through, and it made me just not want to be in that. I was working as a teacher. I didn't even want to be in the classroom. It was very, and everybody could feel that tension. So I was able to actually find somebody to help me deal with the situation. Kind of, so speaking of that, if maybe a lot of people could be going through that, especially when you're pregnant. Sometimes when you're working in a team, sometimes people can feel a different kind of way towards you, or can make you feel some type of way. So I always say that it's best to like Sean's friend did, have her for help, to find somebody that can help you recognize that, like, to help you deal with that situation.
Okay.
Um, and I don't know if anybody else had anything to say, but if not, I'm going to go final remarks.
Well, about the workplace bullying, before it gets to a level where a person feels that they need to get mental assistance. Oh, that's feedback. Before they feel they need to get mental assistance, I know, like, where I used to work, there was arbitration, there was some sort of protocol, that sort of protocols that we could follow, certain channels in order to deal with the issue, because some issues doesn't have to get to that extent, if it's dealt with a proper channel. So, as far as workplace bullying goes, I mean, it's a difficult situation, but there also has to be some sort of steps that can be taken on the job, whether it's a union job or even if it's not a union job.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's so important to try to go through these different channels to before it gets to a point where it's beyond repair. Yeah. And like I said, if anybody has any comments or comments or anything you'd like to put on the chat, please feel free to so that you have the floor to share. Definitely.
I have a question. I
Okay.
have a question for Sister Saundra.
Yeah.
What made you not give up? Because you said what you've been through was traumatic. What could you suggest for other people who goes through what you, who went through or has been through what you, something similar, or maybe it's, a different story, different case? What could you advise them from your experience,
I
from your journey?
I'm so glad you
What
asked
made
that.
you not give up?
I'm very glad that you asked that question because um the reason
The
why I'm
reason
glad
why
okay, I'm
okay,
glad
I'm
you
glad
asked that
the
question
question
because there's a lot of feedback. Okay, so I'm glad you asked that question because there was a turning point where I decided that my life was worth living, and and it's worth something. Um, it was actually my niece, because at the time when I was going through all of this, I didn't have my own kids, but I had a niece and a nephew at that time. And I remember at one point where, I wasn't really feeling good about myself. And then, she would always come to me like, Auntie, I need this, Auntie, I need that. And then one day it actually hit me. It hit me where, even though life may be difficult, you may be going through a lot of things, you may have gone through a lot of things and you've overcome them. You may be at the point where you want to give up. But the advice is you have to look beyond yourself. You can't live for yourself only. That's the realization that I came, that if I'm not around, if I wasn't around, if I had quit, if I had given up, what kind of message am I giving to my niece? You know, what kind of message, am I giving to her? Because the younger ones, they look up to us. They look to us for strength. And that's one of the reasons why we have to find the strength within ourselves, whether we seek mental health, or whether we go the spiritual, but we can never ever give up. And even if it's not for ourselves, it could be for the younger ones, it could be for your child or for your niece or your nephew or someone who looks up to you. Because if you quit and you give up, the message that they get is, well, I guess life is really that hard, you know. So um I guess that was the turning point for me. Once I came to the realization, or God helped me to realize that I can't just live for myself and, you know, the problems that I have, even though they, you know, they're real problems, but sometimes you create even bigger problems by quitting. You know, it doesn't matter who you are. You don't have to be the president of the United States. You know, you could, you know, just be, you could be anyone, you know, but and you could have lots of issues, but the point is that if you look beyond yourself, something greater than yourself, something greater than your problems, that gives you a lot of motivation. You know what? I can do this because I can be an example as to how to overcome, how to have resilience. You know, how to beat anything that comes up against me. Because once you overcome something and you conquer it, then you're able to help someone else that may be going through it. So that was it for me, anyway.
The, the fact that, you know, as you're speaking,
You're
it sounds
going
like
in and
you're
out.
saying,
You're going
oh,
in and out.
could you hear me better?
The connection is so bad. Are you there, Sister Shirley?
Yes, I'm here.
I don't know who that was, but they were just going in and out really bad.
Is the connection better?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just love the fact that you were speaking as I was listening, and I'm like, okay, what she's speaking of is purpose.
Yeah.
Her life has purpose. There's something in this world for her to do. If it's for herself, if it's for her nephew, her niece. So Saundra just pointed out your life has purpose. We all have purpose in this world. Trauma happens, but once it happens, it becomes the past. Deal with the trauma because your future has purpose. You have to, as Sister Sandra was speaking, as she was explaining her testimony, she reminded us that support is important. She has her family, she has her niece, her nephew, her sister. Support is important. If you do not have family, if you don't have friends, you don't have, you feel like you don't have anyone, this is the time to reach out to build your support system. As we gave you examples, social media is the biggest support system in the world. It's virtual. There's a lot of group. There's a community, healthy communities where people are experiencing the same thing that you're experiencing. There's a lot of other support groups you can also join. As Sister Marie provided a list of resources, you can also connect those as a support. Reach into your community, reach into yourself, because everyone has purpose in this world. You are important. Those who are dealing with trauma, who overcome trauma, who's dealing and trying to overcome trauma, you have purpose. It's not easy. It's not going to be easy. The work is going to be hard. But as long as you seek the treatment, you follow the treatment, you attend the treatment, you'll succeed.
Mhm. I agree.
Wonderful. I am so glad that we're able to have this forum. Thank you, Sandra, for speaking out. Truly an inspiration. All of the words and everything that you said really resonated. It resonated with me. I hope it resonated with everybody else who is watching this live whenever it is that it is. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to our social Sister Claudia for coming in. We know that it's not prime time for you, but we appreciate you being able to be here with us and Sister Shirley, who's also here. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. And on that note, I'm gonna move it back to Sister Shirley to pray us out.
Hi. Okay. Thank you, Sister Marie. Those resources, I have placed them in the at the in the link in the description below. They all typed in there. I placed them in there for those of you who missed when Sister Marie was giving out the information. They're right there for you. Once again, like our social worker Clavia says, just make sure you have a support system. Seek help, even if um, you just need someone to pray with. Listen to a service. Go to a church. Sometimes it's easier to reach out to a complete stranger than it is to reach out to your own family. Just reach out and find the help that you need, instead of keeping it bottled up inside, because that's pretending it doesn't happen, it didn't happen, or is not happening, is not dealing with it, and is not going to make it go away. So um I'm going to go ahead and pray us out. Thank you so much for everyone who joined us. I will also place our it's also I will also place our website on the chat for anyone who wants to visit us and ask any comments or have any questions, who just want to support what we're doing, or if you want us to go live again on a different topic, or if you want to come on here yourself because you want to discuss something that you feel may be helpful to our viewers, please let us know. Reach out to us. Okay, anyone else who need any additional resources, please do reach out to us. Sister Clavia has so much resources. She has access. She has a lot of access as well. So she's our social worker. She can help you. So please do reach out. Do not hesitate to help out. And and we, I will pray with you. I'm not a social worker, but I can pray with you. So please do reach out if you just want a quick prayer. If you just want someone to just listen to you, I will do that as well. Just reach out. Just know that we are here if you need anything. Okay. So please bow your head. I'm gonna go ahead and praise out. Father God, thank you for allowing us to have this wonderful, wonderful meeting here today. And I know that even if it's one person that gets to listen to this and it touches them, I praise you. All the glory belongs to you. I ask that you please watch every single person that is listening and let this be a word that touched their heart. Maybe they can be a support system for someone else, or they need the proper resources to help someone else, or they need to help themselves. Please allow them to know that they can reach out and that we can help. We can try to help and we can pray with them. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you so much for watching, everyone.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.